You're live.
It is the fan upstate. However, I don't feel like.
You got to mute your laptop.
Oh, off to a flaming start here, Diesel. Let me see. Hold on. Are we good now?
Nope.
What about now?
Nope.
I clicked mute, though.
No, you're muting StreamYard. You need to mute your actual laptop volume.
Oh, my goodness. What about now?
There we go.
Finally?
Yeah, we're good to go.
What a flaming start, Diesel.
You know, it's not your fault. It's a lot of new technologies all at once.
You get somebody new in here to fill in for Mark Ryan, and you can't even mute your laptop. I can't mute my laptop, I guess. But, yeah, I'll blame it on all the technology. I mean, we're on, obviously, the fan upstate, but we're on StreamYard, and, you know, I'm not used to this fancy technology y'all have going, Diesel. I mean, y'all are so up-to-date, man. But, listen. It's good to be here. Glad to be here filling in for Mark Ryan. I was saying before I started echoing, I feel like when somebody fills in for Mark, the show name should change because Offsides, you know, Mark's become a pretty good definition of offsides. So I don't know. We just need to change it.
It's not a name. It's a reputation.
Yeah. We need to change it when we have a guest, I guess. So, whatever you want to call today's show, we're here with you. Cole Bryson filling in for Mark Ryan. Good to be with you. It's always a pleasure being with you. Diesel is on the board today, rocking and rolling as always. Glad to have Diesel. It's been a while
since we've been on
show together.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of getting my feet wet again as well. I'm having to relearn things. 10 days away from the studio in the beautiful, sunny, tropical paradise of Curacao, and I've forgotten how to do this job.
How's that compared to Greenville?
Heat is about the same. Everything else couldn't be more different. There's no attractive Dutch women walking around in tiny bikinis in the station parking lot. No, believe it or not.
Is the Dutch women here not a thing?
I haven't seen a Dutch woman here. I have to go down to Audie's Dutch Pub downtown Greenville.
Is that
maybe?
Thing?
Yeah.
Oh, now you got me curious. The Dutch, not a big Dutch presence. A loaded show coming at you today. Glad to be with you. Glad you've joined us, however you're listening to us today, whether it's on the Fan Upstate, 97.1 FM, 97.7 in Greenville, and on the Odyssey app. Also on StreamYard, as you heard how I perfected my StreamYard broadcast entering the show today. Always a pleasure being with you. I do want to let you know we have a few guests joining us on the show. Diesel, man, we're giving away some tickets too. It's gonna it's gonna get wild up in here today.
You're number 3 in the FCS preseason polls. Furman Paladins taking on Tennessee Tech Thursday night, 7:00 kickoff, and we've got your tickets. Not only tickets, but a chance to get the VIP experience that gets you way more than just tickets to the game.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and we're going to do that at 4:40 today.
4:40 is your chance to win 2 VIP. Diesel said it. VIP tickets to see Tennessee Tech at Furman this Thursday night. I totally forgot about it. But you know, when we talked about having Clay Hendricks on today, I was like, man, they do play Thursday. Better get ready. We're 2 days away from this bad boy. College football, the real thing. I don't even know if we can consider what we saw last week in the real thing or not, but Anyways, we have Bill Shanks coming up on the program today, Atlanta Braves insider from the Bill Shanks Show out of Macon in South Georgia. Bill's always a pleasure. Great Braves insider. A lot to talk about from last night's game and this season. Ronald Acuna getting attacked in center field. Landon Hollifield with Sports Below the Surface, one of my favorite follows on Twitter and social media, will join us at 5 o'clock. And then Clay Hendricks, the head football coach of the Furman Paladins, at 6 p.m. tonight. We'll talk to Coach Hendricks just 2 days away from the Tennessee Tech home opener right here in town on Thursday, as Diesel said, a 7 o'clock kick. We have a lot to get to on the program today, Diesel. A lot of college football, a little Braves as well. A little NFL. I know you're not the biggest NFL guy, but you told me before the program that you are dabbling, experimenting a little more, there, if you will. You're getting there, and we'll see if the proof's in the pudding right off the bat here, big dog.
You know, it's like freshman year of college. You get curious, you have new experiences, some good, some bad, some you don't tell your friends about. And then, you know, you adjust and maybe your worldview changes and opens up a little bit.
Wow. We went 180 degrees there, didn't we? Now I have totally lost track of the topic we were about to dive into. We just went back to college freshman year. But we do want to start off with the question. And the reason I want to start off with this is in about a little bit less than an hour from now, we will have the final 53-man roster announced for the Carolina Panthers. So we'll obviously have that when that happens live. A couple of articles I was reading are really interesting in terms of some local products that are projected to be cut. I really don't understand it. I don't want to say names because those projections could be wrong. But at 4 o'clock, we'll have the 53-man roster, I believe, is when the Carolina Panthers will announce that roster. But we do want to start with the Panthers. We do want to start with Bryce Young. Diesel and I haven't had a chance to talk about it. Bryce Young, the face of the Carolinas. They have the billboards up all over town, up in Charlotte. Bryce Young being the new face of the Carolina Panthers. We're going to talk about Bryce Young. We're going to talk about the ceiling for Bryce Young. We're going to talk about the expectations. And also, Diesel, you and I have put in a little prep work today. And we have really done something that I think will be fun. You and I today are going to tell the audience in this first segment, and we'll let the audience play as well, join in and participate. We like to allow the audience to participate in these kind of things. So you said it well pre-show. All things being equal, who would you take over Bryce Young today? Let's gauge how good Bryce Young can be. Let's gauge how good we think he will be and what he could potentially do for this Carolina Panthers football team and for this Carolina Panthers franchise. Before we get, though, Diesel, to the list, we do have a list. You have a list. I have a list of quarterbacks that we would take over Bryce Young. I do want to talk about this year in particular, not the career of Bryce Young, but with the NFC South being a very winnable conference. What is, to our listeners, to you, Diesel, and to me as well, I'll give my answer. What is Bryce Young's ceiling this season? We saw Jalen Hurts come into a franchise in Philadelphia just a couple of years ago. And his first season there, Diesel, we had question marks. There were some writers across America, and especially in Philadelphia, who questioned whether or not Jalen Hurts was the right man in Philadelphia. And then a year later, Jalen Hurts leads Philadelphia to the promised land. They fall short in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs. But are we feeling the same vibes with Bryce Young? Because part of me feels those same vibes, and the other part of me kind of feels like maybe it's going to take him more of a learning curve because the Carolina Panthers don't have the talent that the Philadelphia Eagles have. And I think that's the biggest, the point to make.
Sure.
Is that Jalen Hurts' jump was quick. And I don't want to say easy, but it was aided by the fact that Eagles roster was stacked.
Well, believe it or not, Cole, if you have great players around you, it's a lot easier to transition into the NFL. It's like, man, why do all these rookies struggle? Well, because they're going to the crappiest teams from the year prior. These teams are not good. I hate the system that we have, the draft system that we have, that the worst team gets the first draft pick, because what it does is it incentivizes tanking. Once you realize, oh man, we're not going to make the playoffs, so we might as well try to lose every game so that we could get the best quarterback. So then you got the best quarterback in college going to the worst team. It takes 2, 3, 4 years to build a roster.
It does.
And by then, typically, if a player has what it takes to be a good NFL quarterback. We're seeing it happen in Jacksonville right now. Trevor Lawrence I think hasn't done what everybody thought he would do, which was come in and be Tom Brady 2.0 as a rookie, which is and he was out there kicking his kickers. So, no, you don't transition as the best quarterback in college football and be this all everything type of quarterback immediately. That's not how it works. People are trying to apply a college logic, which is the best players in high school go to the best teams in college with the most stacked rosters. And so they have the ability, more often than not, to step in and be successful immediately. The NFL is the exact opposite. The best players are going to the worst teams.
Yeah.
They don't have anything around them. So it's going to take 3 or 4 years to build around them. I think Bryce Young, well, before I get you there, I think what we're seeing with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia is a younger version of what we're seeing, and this is an unlikely turn of events, what Geno Smith has done in Seattle. This guy, everybody thought he's okay. He's okay coming out of college. Nobody really expected that much out of him. But all of a sudden you put a solid roster around him, Russell Wilson's players, his teammates around him. Oh my God, Geno Smith is a lot better than we thought he was going to be.
For sure.
At this level. I think Bryce Young, given another 2 or 3 years of building around him, could be very successful. I don't see anything at this point that would lead me to believe otherwise. We've seen basically nothing of him in the preseason. I think first game he dropped back 7 times, and he was pressured on 4 or 5 of those dropbacks. He's got no offensive line. That's what I've been trying to caution everybody against when it comes to Bryce Young. You need to lower your expectations for what Bryce Young is going to be able to do this year. If Bryce Young had an elite offensive line, this dude would be lighting up the scoreboard this year. But he doesn't. He's going to be running for his life a lot this year. If Carolina can put a good offensive line in front of him, the sky's the limit for Bryce Young.
Well, the difference is talking about Philadelphia, and I'm looking at their schedule now from 2019. So they didn't have Jalen Hurts in 2019, Diesel. 2020, they drafted him, right? So 2020 is the first year of the Jalen Hurts experiment in Philadelphia. Here's the only difference, though, between the Panthers and the Eagles. In 2019, the Eagles had 4, 5, 6, 7 losses, right? So we're not talking about going into a team for Jalen Hurts that is as bad as the Carolina Panthers are today. See what I'm saying? Jalen Hurts went into a much better situation. Again, this was a 7-loss team. What were they? 10-7, something like that. In 2020, they lost in the wild card to the Seahawks, and then 2 years later, they're playing for a Super Bowl. So the situation that Jalen Hurts walked into is light years different than what Bryce Young's walking into. And I agree with you. I do think that Bryce Young's gonna struggle a lot this year based on the talent that he has around him. I don't think there's any doubt in that. So let me ask you this, Diesel. I'll let you go first. All things being equal is the way you said it, and I like it.
Yeah.
Who would you take today?
Yep.
Over Bryce Young? How many NFL quarterbacks? If
we were doing that arcade claw game where you got a little bump, you go bump, or you reach down, you pluck Bryce Young out of that uniform, and you can drop another quarterback in that uniform right now, who would I take? I've got 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. One has an asterisk next to his name. 12 quarterbacks that I would take in the NFL over Bryce Young right now, today. Some of them, no-brainers. Okay.
11.
Some of them, no-brainers. Lamar Jackson. I'm taking Lamar Jackson over Bryce Young. I'm taking Josh Allen. I'm taking Joe Burrow. I'm taking Deshaun Watson.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think he's way more talented. And yes, it comes with a whole lot of headaches, but Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback, and he's got the experience than Bryce Young right now. I would take Russell Wilson right now.
No
yes,
way.
I would.
Really?
I would take Russell Wilson.
Wow.
He's a similar style of quarterback. He's got the pedigree. He's got the experience. I would take Russell Wilson over Bryce Young right now this year. Okay. I would take Trevor Lawrence,
obviously,
Justin Herbert,
right,
Patrick Mahomes,
right,
Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Fields.
All right, so
on the bubble, I'm gonna give you my bubble teams. All right, and everybody else not on this list is in the absolutely not category.
Okay,
on the bubble, I've got Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, and Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler would be on my yes list if he wasn't today on the PUP list. Yeah. So if Kyler Murray was a Carolina Panther today, he would not be playing in the first few weeks of the season.
I like your bubble. However, there were two on your list that I do not have on my list. Deshaun Watson was one of them.
Okay.
Who was the last one you said on your list?
I think the one that made you go, ooh, was I believe it was Kirk Cousins.
It was Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
So all things being equal, who would I take over Bryce Young today? I'll go Lamar Jackson, obviously.
Easily.
Lamar Jackson, do we agree with that?
Sure.
Joe Burrow?
Yep.
Josh Allen?
Yep.
Anthony Richardson.
You would take Anthony Richardson.
I would take.
You drank the Kool-Aid, didn't you? What flavor was that Anthony Richardson Kool-Aid that got you?
Strawberry. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I like Anthony Richardson. I like what I saw in the preseason.
He drank the Gatorade. He mixed. He did the college freshman thing.
Light blue Gatorade.
And drank the Gatorade with the vodka mixed in, and it went straight to his head.
Well, you know what? I could be right on this one.
You could be wrong too.
I like Anthony Richardson. I like his traits. I like his skill set. I like his physique, his build. I would take Anthony Richardson over Bryce Young. Trevor Lawrence, we agree there, right?
Yep.
Mahomes.
Yep.
You ready? Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
Over Bryce Young today.
Frickin' Garoppolo.
Today, I would take Jimmy G over Bryce Young. Today. Now, tomorrow, that might be different. Today, I'm taking Jimmy G. Justin Herbert.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the one that I struggle with the most. The one that I struggle with the most is Justin Fields. He is on my list. But seriously, tomorrow, that may be different. I have no idea if I really think that Justin Fields – I like Justin Fields. I love his athleticism. Let me say that. I love his athleticism. I love his listen, he has stuck with a team that's been bad. I think he has great character. He hasn't had any off the field problems. He's on a terrible team, and he looks like Diesel. He looks like a franchise quarterback. He looks like one. However, Bryce Young, if we're talking future, would you had, by the way, you had Fields on your list? Or not?
I did. Okay. Especially now that he's got DJ Moore. Last year he had nothing. No. And I mean nothing on his wide receiving core. What was it? His rookie year, he came close to setting an NFL quarterback rushing record.
Yeah, running for his life.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is this guy is elite with his legs when he has to be, because he's got no offensive line and he had no receivers. But, oh, my God, once you put a wide receiver with him, I think he connected with DJ Moore for a big one in the week 3 preseason game. Mm-hmm. So that connection to me is probably going to bear some fruit, and I would love to see that this year for Chicago.
Let's go away from that today, 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Oh, that list changes big time.
I'm just talking about Justin Fields.
Just with Justin Fields.
And Bryce.
I think Justin Fields' size might give him a little more durability. I don't see Bryce Young's size right now as an immediate detriment to his ability to be successful in the NFL. He's been throwing over big dudes at Alabama for the last 4 years. You're telling me that the dudes that played at Alabama are small compared to the guys he's throwing over at Carolina? No. They're the same size. They're the same dudes. So if Justin could do it at Alabama, he's going to be able to do it in the NFL.
No, I agree with you. I never was I was never on the too short train for Bryce Young. He is short. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But I was never on that train that he's too short.
I think his smarts and his intelligence will help him overcome that size.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that were. A lot of friends of mine were, especially Ohio State friends. But I do think there are 11 or 12 guys. And again, to answer the question that I asked you 5 years from now, I think I'd take Bryce. I think in 5 years the Panthers will be a lot more of a formidable team than they are now. We'll see. I could be wrong.
On my absolutely not right now list, things could change. We go with the information that we have at hand. C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson. To me, Jimmy Garoppolo, that dude is inconsistent as hell. Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, Desmond Ridder, Dak Prescott. I know that hurts you. Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford because he's old, Daniel Jones because he's too damn expensive, Brock Purdy because he's a massive unknown, Geno Smith, maybe flash in the pan, Baker Mayfield. We joked about this, like which one of us is going to be bold and put Baker Mayfield on his list, and Sam Howell. I don't want any of those guys. I don't want any of those guys over Bryce Young.
No Dak?
I don't want Dak. Dak's going to lose his job this year.
No.
They just traded for a quarterback. They just traded for a quarterback. You really think they traded for a guy expecting Dak to be the long-term starter?
I don't. We're not going to get into that right now. Don't get me started. My blood pressure's good right now, Diesel. Hey, let's talk some college football.
I'm going to hurt you.
Let's talk some college football next. Diesel and I will continue to give our opinions. We're going to look at South Carolina's schedule next year. We're going to rank the opponents. If we have time, we'll get to Clemson as well. We're going to rank the opponents for the Gamecocks from top to bottom. This tough schedule the Gamecocks play. We'll do it next on the Fan Upstate.
We want to hear from you. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Sound off. What quarterbacks would you take over Bryce Young right now? Pluck Bryce Young out of his uniform. Pop somebody else in there. Who would you take? Who would you absolutely not take? We want to hear from you there. You could also text into the show, 71307. Start your text with keyword FAN to get your message filtered down to us. We do share a text line with our sister station. That's why we have you start your text with the word FAN. That way we can filter out just your messages and skip through all the crazy yahoos that text into our sister station, 98.9 WORD. You could also stream us live on YouTube happening right now. You're staring at Cole's face. You're staring at my face. We got Madcraft, Dan B, JD. The whole crew is in there. Let's get to some of their messages.
They're rough, by the way, Diesel.
They are rough. They'll go after you pretty hard. They don't pull any punches on this on this YouTube stream. JD Wyatt says they would have let Acuna get stabbed last night if that would have been the fans' intention. Wow, we're going to get into that later on in the show, JD. Trust me. Madcraft said, side note to Clemson fans, Jordan McFadden made the cut for the Chargers.
By the way, Dorman High School product, Jordan McFadden.
There you go.
Thank you for that.
There you go.
Is that JD or Madcraft?
No, that was Madcraft.
Thanks, Madcraft.
That was Madcraft. Let's see. Madcraft also says that's a big point. Smaller quarterbacks seem to not be as durable as we were talking about Bryce Young and his ability with his size to be durable long-term in the NFL. He also says, I was shocked that it took that long for Dak to be mentioned on the show today. So
come on. They are brutal, Diesel.
Dan B says, can I take Tom Brady or Peyton Manning over Bryce Young? I don't think you want Peyton Manning to do a car commercial over Bryce Young.
That's true.
Because he's going to sell you a Buick, and you're going to be the laughing stock of your neighborhood. You're going to be driving around in a nice, comfortable, cushy car, but it's still a Buick.
By the way, you can tweet me on Twitter. If you don't give me a follow, do so today at the Cole Bryson. I'll follow you right back at the Cole Bryson on Twitter. Throw a curveball here, Diesel. Let's veer from those topics that we had already.
One of my favorite old school offenses in college football, the veer.
The veer and the curveball all in one statement. It's
an offense designed for teams that don't have a very good offensive line. That is us in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
We're going to veer. I want to do Acuna here. I think that's too interesting of a topic not to get to. I know you probably have some audio from that as well, Diesel.
I do.
And I do not. I watched it. I was watching the Braves game last night. Normally I don't stay up that late, but there was a reason I was staying up late to watch that game to the very end. I'll just say that. However, I did not like, as a Braves fan, what I saw in Colorado last night at all. Somebody mentioned on the stream chat a minute ago, they were right. He could have been stabbed. I mean, the security was pathetic. Did you see the video, Diesel?
I have seen the video. I was looking to find any kind of network play-by-play of what happened. I couldn't find it. I found several fan shot videos from the stands, but I couldn't find. Dan B, by the way, is taking umbrage to the fact that I was making fun of Buicks because he owns a Buick.
Oh, wow.
Dan, you own a classic Buick Grand National. Okay, that ain't exactly a Buick of today. That is a badass Buick. That is the very tail end of Buick being a cool car company. Now it's for your grandparents. I seen it. It's a nice car.
No, I was reading the text. That's why I was laughing. That was a good one. Going back to Acuna, I do think that we've all seen, and we'll talk to Bill Shanks about this coming up in about 30 minutes, but we've all seen fans run on the field and streak. And I think until last night, I think it's all been fun and games. And I'll say this, Diesel, even to that point, if this were on a bigger stage last night, let's say a football game or a national televised Monday night game or Sunday night football, this would be the headline on every national show today. Because what happened last night could have been
deadly.
Terrible.
Could have been deadly.
Terrible.
I mean, we even saw last week. I saw this down in Curacao. It was on the news on a Caribbean island. The shooting that took place at a high school game. Last week. It occurred in the stands. But what's to stop somebody from running onto the field with a concealed weapon? You know,
hopefully the metal detectors would get them at the gate, but nowadays you just never know. I was kind of like shocked when I saw it. But man, I tell you what, for it to happen to anybody sucks, but for it to happen to your star player, and then the second guy comes in and he gets knocked down, and I think Diesel, I think that's the worst part. You go ahead. Let's hear. Was it Pilar?
Yeah, we have Kevin Pilar post game talking about his feelings about watching this happen to his teammates.
I don't think they had any ill intentions. I think that was pretty evident early on. Still, I mean, we have these rules and regulations in place. We're supposed to feel safe on the field, and thankfully they weren't there to do any harm. You just never know during those situations, what people's intentions were. Luckily, they were just extreme fans of Ronnie and wanted to get a picture or put their hands on him, but in no way is it appropriate for people to leave the stands, even more to put their hands on someone else. And, you don't ever really expect it. So, me and Mike are just playing catch, and then you kind of look out corner of your eye and you see some people in the field, security doing their job. And then, when Ronnie fell down, your mindset changes a little bit. You go over there and you don't think about any repercussions. You just want to get them out of there safely, and whatever I could do to help. And luckily they were able to, kind of calm the situation down.
The video, by the way, if you haven't seen it, I tweeted it out at the Cole Bryson on Twitter. When he falls down, it kind of gets borderline scary. But again, I go back to this. Why, Diesel, to protect these players who are making all this money, and I don't mean this in a mean way, and if it comes across me, I'm sorry. Why don't we have 344-pound guys out there as security? I mean, really? We can't find anybody else that would work security for an MLB game that's halfway in shape? Yeah. These guys can't catch a cold, much less catch a streaker.
Yeah. I know enough about local law enforcement to know that, a lot of police officers who are criminally underpaid, they take side jobs. They work security at high school football games and basketball games, whatever, all these types of things.
Right.
I mean, if I'm a cop in Denver, Colorado, I would much rather be working security, off-duty security on the sideline for a Rockies game.
Yeah.
Than the local high school game.
Absolutely.
These are trained police officers. They they have training to know what to spot in the crowd if something's going wrong. Yeah. They should have a more heightened sense of awareness, other than some, let's be real, half the time it's a tubby dude in a black t-shirt that's about 3 sizes too small that says security on the back. And you think that guy is going to run down a motivated fan? Yeah, right.
What was the movie about the security guard?
Paul Blart Mall Cop?
Yeah, we can't have a bunch of Paul Blarts standing out there,
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. On the other side, per listener request, you got me hosting the day. So you should have known that there is going to be a little high school football. And we're going to do something fun next segment for the casual high school football fan out there. Only one segment, I do believe, today, unless we get carried away otherwise. But we are going to do a little high school football talk today in the next segment. And what I want to do is, Diesel, and I want you to be a part of it as well. For the average Joe that maybe just moved to the upstate or doesn't know a lot about high school football, we're going to do a high school football history lesson, not just history, but a lesson in general for the audience, educating the casual football fan on the landscape of high school football in the upstate next. That's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, filling in for Mark Ryan. This is Offsides on the Fan Upstate.
1 hour from right now, we give away tickets to see Furman versus Tennessee Tech Thursday night, 7 p.m. kickoff from the beautiful campus of Furman University in Travelers Rest. You can win 2 tickets to the game this afternoon on our show and get entered to win the ultimate VIP experience, which is a big deal, man. We're going to give you a parking pass. We're going to give you special access to the stadium. I think they're even going to recognize you on the Jumbotron.
No way.
During the game
No
if
way.
you win the grand prize.
Win?
No, we cannot. No, we cannot. Sorry about that. Roy did tell me downstairs that if you had worn a button-down shirt today and you had agreed to the button-down shirt contest on the web stream, that he would have got you
How about
that special consideration. That was great. And you want to talk about making Mark Ryan uncomfortable, was making him take his shirt off. And I'm shocked that we had dozens and dozens of people who wanted to see that at any given time.
I don't know that it was that they wanted to see it.
I think they just wanted to see him squirm.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, that's good. I want to go win the VIP tickets Thursday night. Tennessee Tech in town. Hey,
number 3 Furman versus Tennessee
Tech.
Tech.
Fake names.
Yeah.
We could do fake names and tell Roy we won. Or Johnny Boy and what could your name be? Cletus.
Cletus?
Yeah.
Cletus Cassidy. Let's do it.
Oh, man, I think we can do it. Let's pull it off, and then we'll be on the Jumbotron Thursday night. That'd be glorious. All right, final segment of hour number 1. Before we get to this, I want to tease. We have Bill Shanks coming up in just about 15 minutes. Atlanta Braves fans, you don't want to miss it. Bill Shanks is one of the best, if not the best, who covers the Atlanta Braves on the Bill Shanks Show in South Georgia. We'll talk to Bill about 4 o'clock on the program. We'll have a little college football SEC following on TikTok and does a ton of good content. We'll talk to him at 5 o'clock. And then Clay Hendricks, speaking of Furman Diesel, we'll talk to the head ball coach himself.
Yes, we will.
At 6 p.m. I'm excited. I might have to are you going Thursday?
I don't have plans to go, but might be able to make it there by the end of the first quarter.
I saw
there's nothing better than live college football in the upstate, right?
No, absolutely not. I went last year to the opener. I was in town and saw a couple listeners. Had a good time.
What am I going to do? Sit at home and watch Hard Knocks? No.
Yeah, really. No kidding. Wait, Thursday? No. NFL's next Thursday. Yep, we got to go. Let's make plans.
Yeah.
All right. Final
Roy,
segment.
If you're listening, Roy, we need tickets.
Yeah, that's that. Thank you, Diesel. Always thinking ahead. You brought up something very interesting during the break, Diesel, and I think you had a valid point. For people who have grown up around high school football in the upstate, who have lived in the Spartanburg area, they have easily been attracted to the product of high school football. If you're involved in the community, people who are coaches. If you have kids, obviously they grow up and play high school football in the upstate. It's a passion of mine. You hear me on this show twice a week talking high school football as well as Saturday morning. So we are going to do one high school football segment here. Just a quick segment on the landscape right now of high school football.
And the upstate is growing by 30,000 people a year.
It's getting ridiculous.
So that's 30,000 people coming here who didn't grow up watching Spartanburg football or Burns football or Chapman. They don't know any of this stuff. So it's very important to educate the people who are just moving here. You hear us talk about high school football on this show, but you may be saying to yourself, well, I don't know. I don't have kids around here. I don't have kids in high school age, or I don't have them in high school age yet.
Yeah.
But I love high school football. What teams and players should I be paying attention to? What rivalries are key? You could travel. There's some beautiful high school football stadiums in this area. Go and see them all. Make an educated decision.
Yes, I like that. Go to a different game.
Take the high school tour in the upstate.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
Or the most scenic high school football stadium.
Yep.
Greenville, Serene Stadium.
Great one.
Right across from Ford Field.
It's a great one. The old Furman Stadium.
It is. And it's a large stadium. When it gets full, it is a great environment. Greenville's really good, by the way. So no, that's a great point. We could probably spend a long time on this, but for those that are new, listen, high school football here is number one, something that we're passionate about here at the station, but number two, it is so fun to be a part of. It's fun to watch. I'll say this. Diesel, just to peel the onion back a little bit on high school football. I have been involved for 11 years now with some sort of broadcast on high school football on Friday nights. And I grew up going to high school football games. It's always been in Spartanburg County. It was, you had the Dormans, the Burns, the Gaffneys, and you know how good Burns was back in the 2000s and how good Gaffney was and still is. And
now, what's in the water in Spartanburg County? There's just elite high school football in Spartanburg County.
Well, you grow up going. So then I got involved, right? So I'll tell you this little backstory. Grow up going to these games, you get involved. I've been, in some capacity broadcasting high school football now for 11 years. I made a commitment and a promise to myself, and this could change, that Diesel, we have the world of technology is freaking fantastic, right? The video streams, what we're doing here, I love it. I love the world of technology, but I made a promise that, and again, I could change my mind one day, that I would not be a part of a video broadcast when it comes to these broadcasts that I'm a part of. I've been a part of 11 different seasons of high school football broadcasts, and I made a promise to myself that for the time being, I didn't want to be a part of any video broadcast at the high school level. I don't have a problem with those that do. However, to me, high school football is the purest sport we have, and I think people need to have their butts in the seat. Again, people are going to listen to the radio broadcast. They got things going on, especially in Greenville nowadays. How many things are going on a Friday night? A million, right? So I'm glad that there are outlets to broadcast the games. However, I just don't like broadcasting it so somebody can sit at home and watch the game instead of going. Because going to the games is what, got me hooked on it when I was at a young age, got me involved with it. So if you're new to the area, go to the games. Do what Diesel said. Pick a game each Friday night and go to it. That'd be a cool thing to do, Diesel. I mean, this week, this Friday night, there are a ton of good games, and I'll just go through a few of them just for those in the Greenville, Spartanburg area. If you're in Spartanburg, you have Broome at Spartanburg this Friday night. If you are over toward Anderson, TL Hanna West Side is going to be a phenomenal game. That one should be good. Landrum is at St. Joseph. St. Joseph's right here in Greenville is a very, very good school. If you're up toward Gaffney, we have a lot of listeners in South, up in the Cherokee County. Obviously, those Gaffney fans already know South Point is at Gaffney. Malden is at Powdersville. Right here in Greenville, Powdersville is a very good program. They have a lot of talent. They've had a tough start to the season. If you're up toward Blue Ridge is hosting Greer, or is that at? Yeah, Blue Ridge is hosting Greer. By the way, Greer, Diesel, I don't know if you've ever seen, you're talking about scenic stadiums. If you've ever been to Greer High School football, the water tower, the home stands, the way stands.
I miss doing high school football on Friday nights. I used to travel around with the TV broadcast and go with them and do sort of a quasi play-by-play on the radio.
Absolutely. It's amazing that the Greer football stadium, that stadium is one of the most scenic ones that we have. Woodmont is at Riverside right here in Greenville. JL Mann up in Easley. Wade Hampton's traveling up there. If you're over in the TR area, they're at home this week. Lawrence, they're at home. I know we have a few listeners down that way as well. East Side's at home this week. Wren is at home this week, back over toward Anderson. There are so many teams around here. I think I have 26 games, Diesel, that I picked this week in my weekly article. And you do the math, 26 times 2. That's a lot. We were talking about it yesterday. You and I were. There's so many schools around here, and there's a lot of talent. So I would say this: go find a team, go follow a team, go to a different game each week, find some coaches that you like. But as far as people who are new here, Spartanburg County used to be, and at times still is, the epicenter for high school football. However, Greenville's very good now. Right here in Greenville, Southside Christian has been a force, back-to-back state championships at the 1A level. You mentioned Christ Church. Christ Church is a very good program.
Yeah, and
St. Joe's very good program.
And here's the thing. People who are like, I like high school football, but I don't know who to follow. He's just giving you a big list of teams that are really good, playing good football that you need to go see. But you also need to start thinking about names.
For sure.
And here's the thing. I see it in music radio all the time. I hear people say things like, well, I'm just not finding any cool new bands that I like anymore. I'm just not connected to them anymore. That's because you have changed.
Yeah.
You have changed. The bands haven't changed. There's still talent in music. There's a lot of talent in sports. And the thing is, it's never been easier to follow that talent.
Yeah.
It's just a Twitter search away.
That's right.
All you got to do is put forth the effort. You got to put forth a little bit of effort. It's weird in this social media age. It's easier to go find anything you want at any time.
Yeah.
So people just expect that information to come to them. It's our ability to subscribe to podcasts that we like and television shows that we like, and it just gets sent to you. It gives you a notification when something happens. But we've lost our ability to go out and find what we want. It used to be you had to pull up or buy a magazine or a newspaper and follow that week by week and get stats that way. Well, it's never been easier to follow. These kids are all on social media.
Mm-hmm.
They all want the biggest social media following they can possibly have. And there are people putting out highlights. Some schools are better at it than others. Some schools kind of don't do much at all.
Right.
But the star players will have content about them out there. And you just have to be willing to go find it.
And I had a text come in from a friend of mine who is a official here in the upstate for who officiates high school football right here in Greenville Friday night. Probably the marquee game of week 2. Abbeville at Southside Christian Friday night right here in Greenville, not far at all from here. That game right there, Southside Christian's a powerhouse. Abbeville, if you haven't followed high school football and you're new to the area, like Diesel said, these are 2 programs that are powerhouses. This game Friday night, Abbeville right here in Greenville at Southside Christian should be phenomenal.
Spur Daddy has entered the chat. Welcome, Spur Daddy. He says, I grew up in Woodruff watching those Wolverine teams in the 80s, and that was some awesome football. Got married, moved to Duncan right about the time Burns started their awesome run. He goes on, he reminisces, I remember Coach Roebuck, I believe this was at Woodruff. He came after WL. I think this was Willie Varner.
Willie Varner.
Those Varner coached Woodruff teams were awesome to watch in the 80s. I watched Tony Rice play for them, and they were dang near unbeatable.
Let me just say this, Diesel. In the high school football segment that we've been doing for not even 10 minutes, the text and the comments that we've gotten, if you don't think high school football matters here, the text that we have gotten, I love the Saturday high school football talk. I mean, I'm just reading text now from Clinton fans. We got to give Clinton love because I got fussed at Saturday for not giving Clinton love.
There's too many teams to give everybody love, and people get mad when you don't talk about their team first.
Absolutely. And listen, we have
that just means you love it. That's what matters.
We have been blown up over the past 10 minutes of high school football talk. So if you're new to the area, I'll end the segment by saying this. If you're new, Diesel said there's 30,000 people a year moving into the area in Greenville. I believe it. It's getting ridiculous. Welcome here. But listen, if you're a fan of football, man, go check out some high school games and start with Abbeville at Southside Christian this Friday night. Tommy, I appreciate the text. That one is going to be phenomenal. If you're new to the area, get involved with the high school football, go to a game, do a tour day hot dog. I think that's a good idea. We
need high school concession stands to start getting weird. You know, like where you can go get red beans and rice at LSU Stadium. We talked to the Boston College beat writer, says you can get clam chowder at Boston College games. I don't think I want that. You can get lobster rolls at Boston College games. I don't want hot chowder in September and October games. But man, we need if there's chefs or restaurant owners in these fan bases, set up a tent, whatever, start selling the weird fun stuff that'll make people want to do tours, because foodies will travel anywhere for anything.
Absolutely.
If we can get just a little bit of a foodie culture to mix with high school football culture, man, that's off to the races.
I'll end by saying this. Shout out to the top ranked Clinton Red Devils. I don't know why, but we have a following of Clinton Red Devil fans, a lot of high school football fans. Listen, I'm going to get to them Saturday. All you who are texting, don't be upset. We're going to talk about Clinton this Saturday. Yeah, I'll say it. Go Big Red, just so you guys can be happy. We'll talk Atlanta Braves baseball with Bill Shanks next on the Fan Upstate. Good stuff. We're back with you, rolling along in hour number 2. Cole Bryson filling in for Mark Ryan today. They called 55 people, apparently, Diesel, and I was the 56th that answered the phone and said I'd fill in today. Glad to be with you, as always. A lot of Atlanta Braves news, especially from last night's attack on Ronald Acuna Jr., the best player in all of baseball. That's right. I said it. We'll talk to Bill Shanks. Bill Shanks, if you don't know who Bill Shanks is, he hosts the Bill Shanks Show in South Georgia. If you are anywhere Atlanta and South in the entire state, you can get the Bill Shanks Show. He does a phenomenal job and has covered the Atlanta Braves for a long time, and very much appreciate him coming on. Just about an hour and a half ago, I was able to sit down and talk to him. He has a show in South Georgia that runs the same time as this one. So we had to do a little pre-recording with Bill Shanks of the Bill Shanks Show. Cole Bryson here with Bill Shanks of the Bill Shanks Show. You can hear him weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern all across South Georgia and on the superstations.com. Bill, pleasure having you on. Did you get any sleep last night from the game that finally ended right before midnight East Coast time?
Well, Cole, I'm of the age where you sometimes have to wake up in the middle of the night to do a 10-100, and when I did check on the Braves, they had scored 4 more runs. So.
Absolutely, they did. It was a big win last night for the Atlanta Braves, opening the series against the Rockies. But I do want to start on the headline from the game last night, Bill, and you tweeted about it. Ronald Acuna Jr., I believe it was during an inning change, and next thing you know, Ronald Acuna Jr. was, as it looked like, attacked by 2 fans. And, that's something that we normally don't see. We see guys run on the field to get the attention, and the security usually takes care of them. But last night seemed to be a little bit more of a incident rather involving Ronald Acuna Jr., just something that you don't want to see happen to anybody, but especially your star player for the Atlanta Braves.
Well, no, I didn't know if it was some crazy Phillies or Dodgers fan who was going out there and trying to kidnap him so he wouldn't be able to beat him in October. But it was scary. I mean, it was just something you don't see very often. And I remember 30 years ago when Monica Seles, a tennis player, was stabbed right on the court from someone who didn't like her. And so, yeah, it was kind of scary. And, pot's legal in Colorado, so that may be the true explanation of everything. But they were hugging him, wanting to take a picture, and then the next guy acted like he's going to kind of attack him and push him over. So, it's scary. We're okay to laugh about it, I guess, because he didn't get hurt. But boy, if he had, that would have been a catastrophe in any measure, even if this one is bad, because he's so good. So I'm glad he's okay, and hopefully the security will be a little bit better in game 2 than it was in game 1.
Absolutely. Bill Shanks joining us on the program on the Fan Upstate. Bill, I want to ask you, the Braves are 12.5 games, obviously a 12.5 game lead in the NL East. You have covered this team and these players and this organization now for a while. I want to gauge your thoughts on, here we are at the end of August, going into September, where you feel your confidence is with this team right now as compared to years in the past, maybe even so the 2021 team that won it. But how confident are you with this team going into September versus the years in the past?
Well, this team obviously has a different story than the one 2 years ago and the one last year. I mean, this is the first time in this run of what's getting ready to be in another 5 weeks, 6 straight division championships, that they've had this sort of a lead and this sort of breathing room. So it's a little bit different story now, and we know the playoffs are a crapshoot. The best team does not always win. Sometimes it's the hottest team, like the Braves were 2 years ago. Sometimes, even go to the Phillies last year, right? They were real hot,
right?
Well, in October, and got all the way to the World Series. So you have to have a little bit of luck. You have to have good matchups. You have to be able to come through with good pitching there at the end. But I think the team is as prepared as you can get as far as, okay, what kind of roster you want going into the postseason. And they've got strong pitching at the top of the rotation. You've got 3, maybe 4 guys that you would feel good about in the playoff game to start. They've got a good bullpen. Tyler Madison out there. They've got good relievers. I think they can do the job. And this lineup is just historic. What we're seeing here is a historic run of offense that, for my whole life, people have said, well, there's no 1927 Yankees. So they were always the standard bearer for the great offense that team had back, 96 years ago. And now the Braves of 2023 are being mentioned in that same breath, which is I think, a testament to what they've had. So, I think one thing's happened here, Cole, the last couple of weeks gives me even more hope, and that is that, once again, a part of this lineup is leveled off the normalcy and to not be hot. But then here's two guys, Marcell Ozuna and Eddie Rosario, that have picked them up and have ran with it. And with that, when you have a lineup like that, that's going to be a team that's going to be hard to beat.
You talked about it just a minute ago, the weapons they have on offense. I do want to ask, though, in your opinion, this has been really the only question I've heard from the national outlets, that cover the Braves and on national shows. We all know how good the lineup is top to bottom, and like you said, how well Ozuna's played lately. But when you look at the Dodgers or maybe possibly a team like the Phillies who could be sneaky in the postseason, we can talk about for days how talented this Braves team is. But is there, in your mind, in your opinion, is there a hole that a team like the Dodgers or somebody else in the NL that they could find in this Braves team to have some success against come October?
As long as the Braves pitchers don't walk people, they can beat anybody in the game.
Right.
If they're going to have trouble with walks, like Colin McHugh did on Sunday night, then they're not going to last very long at all. I think his bullpen is good enough. 2 years ago at this time, I was probably doing a show from like Will Smith also in May. Luke Jackson was always Luke the Fluke Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was so bad with Will Smith there for a while that I renamed him Tito because every time he pitched, I wanted to grab the vodka bottle and just juggle like it. And then he turned around the playoffs, and Will Smith did not allow an earned run in the season. And hey, you want to ask me why the Braves won the World Series? That's a big place to start. So, you kind of have elite production from your talent, and you got to hope the players that can be that good will do it in October on the big stage. And I don't know if they have a weakness per se. You just got to have the personnel you have on your roster perform at a high level, and they've all got that ability. I don't worry necessarily about the rotation. I think the rotation can hang pretty well with most of the playoff odds. Back to Spencer Strider, our two ace pitchers. That was Charlie Morton, number 3. That's really good. Elders, number 4. That's, he's got 11 wins. That's not bad.
Yeah.
For the first 15 wins. So, I don't know if they have a weakness. I think you just have to hope this team plays well at the right time. And when we see that happen, they've been unbeatable for stretches of the year, even against great teams. So just have to hope that they don't get into some big slump where they don't hit offensively, and the pitching goes south. I know that sounds simplistic, but I think that's my only hope this team. Just play well like we know you can at the right time, and all you got to do is 11 games, and you'll be world champions again.
Obviously, the lineup, Bill, last night looked a little different. We've seen it shake up a couple of times in the last few weeks. Your prediction, Bill Shanks, on a month from now, if this or what this Braves lineup will look like, in your opinion, when we do enter the postseason?
I hope they don't touch it. I hope Ozzy's still batting second. I think he's done great as number 2 hitter. He's a switch hitter, which helps between Acuna and Austin Riley. I think then you've got Matt and Marcell moved up a little bit, obviously, because of what he's doing in his production. And I love Michael Harris batting second, but look, now that Ozzy's back, I put him down there at 9 because there was a game last week, Cole, where the Braves were coming up in the 9th inning. I think they were behind, and you had like 8, 9 in play. You had Garcia, Harris, and Acuna. And it's like, who the heck in baseball has that on their lineup to roll over the top of their lineup? Nobody. So I hope they'll do with what they've done for these 130 games and keep it going.
Is it fair to say, Bill, that this weekend series that starts on Thursday night at midnight, I believe. That series against the Dodgers, is it fair to say that is the best measuring stick we'll have to see how this Braves team, I don't want to say call it a must-win game or a must-win series this weekend, but is this a series Braves fans will be extremely disappointed in if we can't take care of business against a really hot LA team?
Absolutely. I mean, they're the team you want to beat. They're the team that the last couple of years. I mean, think about it. 2 years ago we had to see the Braves beat the Dodgers, and 3 years ago they had to beat the Braves.
Yeah.
To get the World Series. So, yeah, I think the matchup is. I should like it to come down to Dodgers again. But look, I think the driving force is also a blessing in disguise. More about this division. They're going to clinch the division in 2 weeks.
Right.
It's hoping to have games, but they're pouring up on the Dodgers, and they don't want to go win the bid in LA and have that be turned around on them. But the way that ballpark in Atlanta is, it's smart. I mean, you hold that stadium packed, and you hold that home field advantage. I don't want to see them play a game 7 in LA. I want it to be in Atlanta. So therefore, I don't think this is going to be some determined thing, but they're smart enough to know that they've got a home field advantage over the Dodgers right now and over the Orioles. So it's like, if you want motivation to keep on playing well and not in September, even though you've got a big lead in the division, I think that's it. Therefore, beat them. And they know the robbery there. And look, the Freddie Freeman going to the Dodgers a year ago only took that to another new level. So, yeah, I think it's a big series. It'll be fun to watch.
Bill, before we let you go, I want to go back to the fans. We all know how fun and entertaining the Atlanta Braves fan base can be at times. Somebody we hadn't talked about, Matt Olson. Do Braves fans, in your opinion, Bill, really understand how incredible of a season that Matt Olson is having when it comes to matching Hank Aaron's RBI and home run record? Or do you think that with all the talent on this team and the talent to come in the year's future that 5 years from now, this will be something that we don't really emphasize and talk about enough?
Well, I hope they do. I think they do. It may not help that Freddie Freeman's obviously having an MVP season himself.
Right.
There's still some Freddie lovers that are hanging on to that, but I think the majority of them are like, well, this is our guy, and he's pretty damn good himself. He may not be Freddie Freeman. He's not going to hit 335, but he's going to hit a bunch of homers, and when he's hot, he can be better than anybody in this sport. So I hope they do, and I think so. I think there is a recognition of what this young man's doing, and it's kind of good in a way. Hey, Matt came home, and so did Freddie, and they're both doing well at their home ballparks, their home areas, and look, I love Freddie Freeman to death, but I would trade him for Matt Olson just because Matt's our guy now.
Yeah,
I think most fans feel that way too.
All right, that's Bill Shanks of the Bill Shanks Show. Sorry about that. I had to cut him off early a little bit, timing, but man, there's so much to unpack from that. I'll say this. He's right. I asked him 2 questions before we wrapped it up about the Dodgers series this weekend. If you're a Braves fan, you cannot tell me that you're not scared to death. I don't care how confident you are in this Braves team. I don't care how good you think this Braves team is. I don't care how good you think the lineup is and how good Acuna and Olsen and Riley. I don't care how good you think this Braves team is. Every Braves fan has to admit they're looking at the red-hot Dodgers. Like, please don't screw this up.
Well, this is your situation here to be tested against the best in the league, right?
Yeah, but the reason I say that is the Braves are good, but guys, let's not act like the regular season translates to the postseason. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm
not saying be scared of them this weekend. I'm just saying as an overall product, once we get to October, when has the regular season ever translated to the postseason in MLB?
We also saw that the Braves came out of the All-Star break sputtering just a little bit. So this team, after they've been given a little bit of a break, has taken some time to get their wheels spinning again.
Maybe anxious is the better word. Maybe scared isn't the right word. Maybe it's more anxious. Maybe it's more anxiety. I'm not necessarily scared of the Dodgers in a 7-game series thinking that we don't have a hope. I'm just thinking where my brain goes is, Diesel, this Braves team has been so good. please don't screw it up. Please don't let the Dodgers come in October and screw this freaking thing up, because what the Atlanta Braves have this year is special. I get that there are Atlanta Braves fans out there screaming at me right now. No, we're way better than the Dodgers. The Dodgers, no, there's no way better when it comes to Baltimore, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. They're all three right there. They've had great seasons. Texas until they lost 2 out of the last 10 or whatever. They've all had great seasons. I just don't think the Atlanta Braves fans want to admit the reality of it is, listen, the Dodgers, and maybe a lot of it has to do with Freddie Freeman being there, but man, as a Braves fan, I'm so anxious. I'm so anxious. Obviously, my confidence would be up and my anxiety would be down if we could go take 3 or 4 in LA starting Thursday night. But man, I'm anxious. I'm ready. I'm anxious for the postseason. I wish. I'm not saying I wish it was easier, because in order to go win a World Series, you have to freaking beat good teams. I know that. Everybody knows that. But the Dodgers are so good. The Orioles are so good. If the Braves were to get fortunate enough to make it, to the World Series, the Orioles are a really good team. But I think it's going to be fun. Obviously, the Phillies could sneak up on somebody. I'm ready. Thanks to Bill Shanks, as always. He does a phenomenal job covering the Braves on the Bill Shanks Show. You can follow him on Twitter at Bill Shanks. Up next, Diesel, you and I will look at this weekend's best bets, the spreads, the money lines, anything you can imagine betting on this weekend. College football is here. We'll take a look at it next on the Fan Upstate.
It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel. Cole Bryson sitting in the very next segment. You are going to have a chance to win tickets to go see Furman and Tennessee Tech Thursday night, 7 p.m. kickoff at Furman University. The number 3 Furman Paladins starting their season Thursday night. Who doesn't like Thursday night football to kick the season off when you've got good football and it's right here in the area? You're going to want to play and win these tickets. We'll do a phone-in contest, so be ready for that. Hopefully you have the phone number ready to go, 844-326-3663. We'll hook you up with 2 tickets to this week's game, plus a chance at a grand prize. We just spent the last 5 minutes talking about gambling, you and I. This is gambling, but you're going to win no matter what. If you win the prize, you win no matter what. So 2 tickets up for grabs. If you win the grand prize, you'll get a parking pass, pregame on-field access at Division I college football. That's fun, man.
It's fun.
That's fun. You'll get special video board recognition and 4 club passes. You could upgrade with 4 club passes.
I'm entering.
Yeah.
I don't care what they say.
I know.
I'll get my
All of
fake
you.
name ready. I'm going to call
JD, Spur Daddy, Madcraft, whoever it is you're a fan of. I know Madcraft is a sick individual. He's a Miami Hurricane fan, regardless of the fact that they break his heart year in and year out. JD is a Gamecock fan, regardless of the fact that they break his heart year in and year out.
What about Spur Daddy?
This might be your chance.
Who's he a fan of?
Yeah, this might be your chance, JD and Spur Daddy, to scout Furman.
Ooh.
As South Carolina is going to play Furman in week 2.
They need scouting.
Yeah.
South Carolina and Furman.
And I know JD lives
that.
JD lives in Simpsonville. Spur Daddy, I don't recall off the top of my head where you live, but you're close enough to go see Furman football Thursday night. All you got to do is call in to win these tickets.
Let's do it.
At 4:40.
4:40, 15 minutes.
Yep.
I'm excited. All right, let's do it. 15 minutes from now, you heard the man. Get the phones ready. Furman is right here. Football is back. Speaking of football, Diesel, let's take a look.
Madcraft's mad at me for taking shots. He goes,
What
stray bullets. That wasn't a stray, my friend. That was aimed right at you.
I missed it. What did you say to him?
When I poked at him for being a Miami fan.
Oh.
They're back.
he
They're
deserved
back.
it,
Yeah. So is Texas.
Texas is back.
So is Nebraska.
Absolutely. All right, Diesel, let's talk about the best bets for this weekend. You ready? Write them down just so you can pretend like you're gambling this weekend, because gambling's illegal, so we're not going to do that. But write the best
Gambling at Bushwood is illegal.
I couldn't even say it with a straight face. That's terrible. Thursday night, the only interesting game, Florida, Utah. Before I give you the line and who's favored, money line here, I would probably stay away. 7 o'clock Thursday night, Diesel.
Yeah.
Florida comes into this game as a 6.5-point underdog. I would probably go Utah. If I could tease it down a little bit, I would probably tease it down. But, with what's the kid's name who we're waiting to see if he's going to play or not for oh, man, I'm drawing a blank. Rising, the quarterback.
Yeah. Something Miami Hurricanes football program is not doing.
Man, that's tough. Still more shots fired. I think that's going to be an interesting game. I will say that the really interesting games come Saturday, and we're going to skip the Friday night games because there's nothing really entertaining on Friday either. All right, let's go to Saturday where we have I'm looking for some SEC. Okay, let's go to this first one. We'll keep it local. And by the way, I have a couple of local notes on the 53-man roster that I'll get to in here in a second as well. North Carolina, South Carolina, best bets. Diesel, if you had to take one or the other, South Carolina, North Carolina Tar Heels, neutral site, by the way, Bank of America Stadium, 2.5-point favorite are the Tar Heels. Would you take that?
Oof.
Or would you take another best bet? There's 3 good options here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll give you 3 options. The 3 options are very simple: the line, the over-under, and the money line. Or the spread, the over-under, the money line, right? The spread's 2.5 points favoring the Tar Heels. Your over-under right now is 64.5. 64.5 over-under, total points scored in that game. Or if you wanted to take the money line, it's pretty close to even. North Carolina minus 135, South Carolina plus 115. South Carolina, like I said, is a 2.5-point dog. Diesel, before I give you my best bet for this game, who are you taking on the best bet?
I am taking North Carolina to win this game,
But
because Drake May is a wizard.
But
He is what, Ezra Miller, the actor, the Mad Goose Wizard.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one of those, though, I'm taking the over under.
Oh, okay. So you're
If
not
I
going
had
2.5?
No, I'm not taking the 2.5. I feel like this could be a field goal late kind of game. Spencer Rattler, if he fixes his interception issues, he's going to be able to move the ball very effectively against North Carolina's defense. They sucked last year. Let's just flat out. North Carolina's defense sucked last year. And South Carolina should be able to move the ball against them. But guess what? South Carolina's defense kind of sucked last year too. North Carolina will be able to move the ball against them. This could be a late field goal type of game. And I love a lot of points being scored in this game. I would gladly take the over-under 64.5 points, and I would take the over.
So like 35-31 kind of game?
Yeah.
I mean, you're
yeah,
talking
I can
right
see
there,
that.
35-31. I mean, you're right at 66. That's barely over.
Speaking of upsets, by the way, we are bringing back the Upset Picks Challenge starting tomorrow. Those of you who are big fans of this contest last year and the year before, it's getting bigger and bigger every year. It comes back tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Start thinking about your picks. Start formulating your upsets. You know how this works. You pick an outright upset of 3 points or more. If you get it correct, you get the points added to your running tally. If you get it wrong, you lose a point. If you don't pick it all, you lose 2 points. That's tomorrow.
My best bet on this one, I hate to say this, but I'll probably go South Carolina money line plus 115. You win a little bit more than you bet. Yep. So you bet 50, you win, 57 and a half, something like that. My best bet for South Carolina, North Carolina, probably going South Carolina money line at plus 115. Alabama. Have you seen the spread yet, by the way, for this one? They play Middle Tennessee State.
Oh, God.
Guess, Diesel, the spread.
44.5.
You're close. 39.
That's a little low.
Favored by 39.
I would take Alabama and the over.
You'll take the Alabama minus 39.
Yeah.
The over-under is 51.5. So not quite as a high-scoring game. Obviously, Middle Tennessee State not expected to score a ton. However, Alabama minus 39.5, I would probably take it as well. Coastal Carolina versus UCLA. Diesel, guess the line.
Guess the line. I'm going to say UCLA minus 16.5.
Getting good. You're closer. It is minus 14.
Okay.
And a half in favor of the Bruins.
I like Grayson McCall a lot.
He's back.
Ruined the day that App State passed on Grayson McCall. Could have had him in the black and gold. Mentioned to him when we had him on.
Great last year, though, man.
No, he wasn't. He was dealing with a lot of injuries last year. This year, though, he doesn't have Jamie Chadwell. Most of his staff has moved on to Liberty. He decided to stay there in Conway. So I'm not as high on Coastal this year. Grayson will be fine. Grayson will ball out. He will look good. The question is, how much of the team stayed around him? It's just a question I don't know the answer to. And how much will the system change?
Yeah.
Probably not much. However, all it is the minor tweaks. Those little minor things can change a lot.
For sure. 2 more. LSU, Florida State. Florida State is a 2.5-point dog. This is Sunday night in Orlando. LSU favored by 2.5. The over-under is 56.5, and LSU's a 140 minus one. Let me make sure I said that right. Yeah, minus 141 money line. If you wanted Florida State on the money line plus 119, that's not a terrible bet. Did I say over-under 56.5?
Yeah,
LSU
I'm not sold.
Diesel?
I'm not sold on Florida State. They've got to prove it to me. LSU with all that SEC talent and size, I would take LSU to cover that minus 2.5.
You know what? For some reason, I agree. I think my best bet.
This game is in Baton Rouge, right?
No, it's in Orlando.
It's in Orlando
at Camping World Stadium.
Okay, so a neutral site, a neutral site that just so happens to be like 50 miles from Florida State's campus.
Yeah, I don't know. If I had a bet on this one, I think my best bet would be LSU. Maybe 2.5. It's not. Yeah, it's even money at 2.5. So Yeah, I don't. I'm 100% in agreement though with you that I'm not on the Florida State train yet. They've got to knock Clemson off first before I believe it. And then speaking of Clemson Duke Monday night before we hit a break. Clemson Diesel, have you seen the spread?
No, I haven't. I'm going to guess though and say that it is Clemson minus 14.5.
It is 13, my
Ooh.
friend. Clemson minus 13.
I'm getting good at this.
You're getting good. We'll have to continue it up at Durham. Clemson a 13-point favorite on the road. I would take the 13 and the Tigers on Monday night. You like that or no? 13?
I do. Clemson vastly out talents. New system under Garrett Riley should be a high scoring, high potency kind of offense. The question obviously is Cade Klubnik that guy?
Yeah.
And we're going to find out week 1.
We're going to find out. All right, coming up next, we are letting the listeners, that's right, you, the streamers, the texters, everybody listening who is interacting, you get to pick the topic of the next segment. We have 2 choices, the floor and the ceiling. Diesel and I will give you for Clemson football. Speaking of the Tigers in 2023, what's the floor, what's the ceiling? Or we rank the SEC head coaches that will be fired from soonest to last. We'll do it. What do you want to do? This is a listener-friendly program. You pick. We'll do it next on the Fan Upstate.
Your Furman Paladins, the number 3 team in the country in the preseason FCS polls, kick off their season Thursday night against Tennessee Tech. For you Gamecock fans, listen up. This might be your chance to go see some live college football in Division I, always fun, and scout Furman, get a little bit of knowledge base on what the Paladins have this year, and you could do it right there from the stadium, right there from the stands, or even better yet, from the club level. How great is that? So in honor of Furman being the number 3 team in the country in the preseason polls, I'm looking for the third caller at 844-326-3663 to win 2 tickets to the game and be entered into the grand prize, which is a parking pass, pregame on-field access, always great, video board recognition, and 4 club passes. Caller number 3 at 844-326-3663. Going to win these tickets.
Let's do it. I'm excited. Diesel's panicking. I mean, the phones are already lighting up. Diesel is sweating now. I mean, we have gone from panic mode to sweat mode. I'm watching Diesel live. This is my first chance to do play-by-play on the contest. I'm just kidding. Not going to do that. But excited for Thursday night. And Diesel will have a winner shortly. Coming up, we will do by the way, we let our audience decide. And between
that stinks. We had caller 3 on the line, and then he hung up.
No kidding.
He hung up.
Call back.
We got to move on. That's the rules.
Oh, man. I bet it was Spur Daddy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know who it was. Caller number 3 hung up. So now we have a winner, I believe. He's on the phone with Diesel right now. But we let our audience decide the next segment, and they voted on the list of SEC head coaches, in our opinion, that will be fired soonest to last. Diesel and I will give you that. I'll go through as he's getting the winner, and I will remind you and give you the names of the head football coaches in the SEC if you don't know them already. All right, starting with the one we all know. South Carolina, Shane Beamer, Brian Kelly, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Josh Heupel, Lane Kiffin, Sam Pittman at Arkansas, Hugh Freeze, first year at Auburn, Mark Stoops, Billy Napier, Clark Lee at Vandy, Jimbo Fisher at A&M, Zach Arnett at Mississippi State, and Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. So out of those 14 head coaches, which ones do we think will be fired first? Which ones do we think will be fired last? The game that we're playing is all of them at some point have to be fired. No one can leave. No one can retire. Nick Saban can't leave. Nick Saban cannot retire. He has to be fired. So if they all get fired, which order do they get fired in? Again, we have 14 contestants in the SEC. And before we do that, we'll have a winner announcement, I believe, coming up very shortly. Diesel is getting the contact info now from the winner. Again, the third caller, man, we were so close. The phones were ringing, and the third caller hung up. He might have ran through a bad spot and lost service. Might have hit a pothole on our fine South Carolina roads, and his phone fell from his hand into his cup of a cola from McDonald's, and he lost his phone. And he also lost his chance at 2 free tickets for Thursday night. So we'll get to this list coming up. If you hadn't done so already, follow us on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at the Cole Bryson. Obviously, you can follow the station at the Fan Upstate. We'll do our best to give you a follow back as well. Again, I am at the Cole Bryson. All right, I'll give you mine as we get this thing started. Diesel should have a winner soon. I know I'll be interrupted shortly. By the way, Spur Daddy says he did not call in. I was just playing with you, Spur Daddy. He no interest in going to see Furman Thursday night, I guess. But out of our 14, I thought long and hard about this. I started making this list last night. And out of the 14 SEC coaches, my first head coach to get fired is not Jimbo Fisher. Believe it or not. If it wasn't for the buyout, it probably would be. But I'm going with the easy choice here. It is Clark Lee at Vandy. We'll see if Diesel agrees, but I believe the votes are in, Diesel. The polls are in. It's time to close up shop. Do we have a winner?
We do. We have Joshua Wines from Inman, who scored 2 tickets to go see Furman and Tennessee Tech.
Round of applause.
Thursday night. This is awesome. You know what it is? It's fun because he knows he's already won.
Yep.
He knows he's got tickets in hand.
Yeah.
But now it's like there's a little bit added suspense.
2 days.
Is he going to get on-field access? Is he going to get club level tickets?
Did we just lie?
Is he going to be
all
upgraded from 2 tickets to 4 tickets? Dude, like,
or does he not get any?
Or no, he will get. It's in Vegas, man, where they're gonna turn your pockets inside out.
Man.
He is no matter what, the worst Josh can do is 2 tickets to the game. That's the worst you can do. It's great. It's great. And guess what? We will have another chance for you to win tickets tomorrow, not only here on Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel, but also on the Rob Brown Show. This is what's great about this. We've got 3 more sets of tickets to give away. Rob tomorrow morning on his show, us tomorrow afternoon on this show, and then Rob one more time Thursday morning. Okay. Obviously, we can't give them away Thursday afternoon, just 2 or 3 hours before kickoff, and try to get the whole contest completed.
Well, that's awesome. Congrats, Josh.
Congratulations to you, Josh.
Got 2 tickets. All right, Diesel, while you were doing that work over there, acting busy, I gave my first out. I gave my first fired. You and I both had a list of 14 coaches. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to go with the easy because I wanted to choose somebody else. I originally wanted to choose Jimbo as my first fired, but because of his buyout, I didn't. I chose Clark Lee at Vandy. I just couldn't find another one. I mean, who sucks worse than Vandy?
Yeah, I don't know much about Clark Lee and like when he was hired there at Vanderbilt, but what I did is I put him into 3 different categories. Instead of power ranking who I think was going to get fired first, I put him in 3 different categories. And these are guys that I think could be fired this year if things go badly for them. By the way,
he was hired on December the 14th, 2020.
Okay, so he's been there long enough that, he's not like what was his name? Was it Franklin? Was it
the old Vandy coach?
Yeah, the old Vandy coach who
no, it wasn't Franklin.
Who's at Penn State now, right? Is that not the same James Franklin?
Was it?
Am I wrong there? Either way, on the hot seat, I've got Clark Lee.
You're not talking about Derek Mason, are you?
No, I was thinking. Well, no, I wasn't specifically thinking about Derek Mason there. But I've got Clark Lee, Jimbo Fisher, and Eli Drinkwitz firmly on the hot seat. When we asked our Texas A&M preview series guest, are A&M fans willing to pony up the cash to get rid of Jimbo?
What did they say?
If this is a failed season for the Aggies, and they said, oh, hell yeah.
They got the cash.
They got the cash. They will spend it to get rid of Jimbo Fisher. They will spend it.
Stupid, man. Why would you hire him in the first place?
I asked the question. I was like, did you guys learn anything from the Jimbo Fisher experiment and maybe not go after the flashy guy and throw a massive gargantuan contract at him? Or will you make that same mistake again? And he goes, oh, we'll make the same mistake again.
Oh, my word.
He goes, that's the thing about A&M is we will spend a lot of money and go down in a blaze of glory, okay? So on the hot seat, I've got Clark Lee, Jimbo, and Eli Drinkwitz, meaning this could be their last season. Guys who I think are safe, this is the largest category, safe. Brian Kelly, Josh Heupel, Shane Beamer, Lane Kiffin, Sam Pittman at Arkansas, Hugh Freeze at Auburn because he just got there. He's had a cup of coffee. He hadn't even had a chance to find the Waffle House.
By the way, they are rolling in revenue.
Mark Stoops at Kentucky, Billy Napier at Florida, though I think Florida fans are twitchy enough that maybe next year Billy Napier could be back on the hot seat through no fault of his own, through absolutely no fault of his own. And then I've got Zach Arnett at Mississippi State, who just got there as well.
He did.
Taking over, of course, for the untimely passing of Mike Leach. Those are the guys who I think are safe. And then there's 2 untouchables. It's Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. Those guys are untouchable. Nobody is unseating them.
I have Clark Lee, Drinkwitz, and Jimbo Fisher 1, 2, 3. Let me ask you this, though. Let's play this game. Mark Stoops versus Billy Napier.
Yeah.
Who gets fired first?
Billy Napier.
See, I think
Billy Napier because
I agree with that.
Kentucky. I know that. But Florida is a fan base that expects to win. Kentucky is a fan base, a football fan base that loves it when they win, but they're not so wrapped up in this winning culture yet that they are willing to fire the guy that got them to where they are.
No, I
Right?
agree. He's not a bad coach.
I think Mark Stoops, they hate each other a lot. They have thrown sharp, pointy objects. But I think as far as where they are situationally and what they've done for their universities and programs so far, or could do for their programs over the next 2 or 3 seasons, I think Mark Stoops and Shane Beamer have a lot in common.
Oh, really?
I think Mark Stoops has elevated Kentucky football beyond where it typically has been in the past, and it's got Kentucky fans feeling really good. Shane Beamer could be on the verge of elevating South Carolina football beyond where they typically been in the past. So I think in that sense, they are a lot alike.
I agree with you that the Florida fan base and program is more desperate. They're definitely more desperate, right? They're definitely eager to get that next guy. Diesel, they just hired him in November of 2021. So 22 was his first season, Napier.
Yeah.
So this is his second season. Is that right?
Yes.
Napier's second season.
That is true.
I don't know, man. How do you got to give a guy at least 5 years?
You would think.
You got to give him
You
5
would
years.
think, but that's not the world we live in anymore.
You got to give.
That's not, everybody is so desperate. We are in the most desperate times in college football history because it's you're desperate to get an elite level coach. If you're a good program or have been elite in the past and you've fallen off just a little bit, you are desperate to get that elite level coach. You will spend ungodly amounts of money to go get him because these programs are making a lot more. They have the money from their television revenue. They have the money to go spend, and boosters are willing to spend a ton of money to get a guy out who shouldn't be there. They are desperate to keep elite level 5-star quarterbacks happy, or they will just FO somewhere else.
All right, I got one more for you before the break. First to be fired. Lane Kiffin or Shane Beamer?
Oh, first to be fired, probably Lane Kiffin.
You think so?
I do. I predicted that Shane Beamer would be fired at South Carolina eventually. I'm talking 10, 15 years down the road.
Really?
I think Shane Beamer will have a quality tenure, maybe not an elite level tenure.
Not a Spurrier tenure.
Not a Spurrier level tenure at South Carolina, but a quality tenure. If he is an 8-win coach, average 8-win coach, sometimes it'll be 7, sometimes it'll be 9 or 10, but I think he's probably going to settle in that 8.5-win category as a head coach, only because of the division and the conference that you play in. Like, it's hard for any team to be better than there's a gulf between the teams that win 11 and 12 games and the teams that win 9 games. There's a huge ocean between those types of programs. So I think Shane Beamer has that 8.5-win type of coach future in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And eventually the standards will be raised to the point where 8.5 wins a season is not good enough for South Carolina fans.
I think we're close there.
And they will make that decision and say, Coach, you brought us to heights and sustainability levels that we haven't had here in Columbia in a very, very long time. We appreciate your time here, but we want more.
Yeah.
We got to send you packing.
I don't think we're far from there, though, Diesel. I really don't. I don't think we're too far. We'll see.
We'll see. You know, you can't statistically, you can't make a call after just 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You can't.
I agree with you. We'll see. It should be fun. I love it. I can't wait to see the Sarkisian and the boys join the SEC. Speaking of Steve Sarkisian, we'll talk a little welcoming to the SEC, a little NFL as well with Landon Hollifield up next on the Fan Upstate. Landon, he is a fantastic follow. Sports Below the Surface is his outlet name. We'll talk to him next. This is Offsides. Cole Bryson filling in on the Fan Upstate. We're back with you on the Fan Upstate. Cole Bryson filling in for Mark Ryan. Always a pleasure being with you today. Diesel in the house, as always, on the ones and twos. He's the man. If you don't know him, he's Diesel. I'm on Twitter at @TheColeBryson. Glad to have you in today. Rolling into the 5 o'clock hour, we bring in our second guest of the program. His name is Landon Hollifield. He's on Twitter at The Lando Show. That's The Lando Show. He is an amazing content producer. It's a great Twitter follow as well. It's Sports Below the Surface. Landon, good afternoon. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm not going to lie. I got a little bit of a adrenaline rush as the call rolled in here. I feel like I was being called from the bullpen again and running back out on the field like the old days. But
not quite that
here,
big
man.
of a deal. Not quite that big of a deal.
But that's how it feels, man. So this is great. I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Good to have you on, man. I want to start with this. There was a tweet this morning that I saw, and I saw your opinion on it as well. This was from Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football. He tweeted a graphic this morning of Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins since 2016. The graphic reads: wins, completion percentage, yards attempts, and passer rating. It shows that Dak has 61 wins. Kirk Cousins has 61 wins as well. Their completion percentage is about the same. Dak's at 66, Kirk's at 67. Yards per attempt, pretty close, 7.6. And the passer rating, pretty close as well. However, the tweet went viral because, Landon, as we all know in sports, stats don't always tell the whole story. And I liked your response as well because – you know, Dak, you said it, he has the same amount of wins in 4 less seasons. So your opinion and really your thoughts on this comparison between Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins and this tweet. By the way, for our listening audience, I will retweet the graphic from Kyle Brandt. But Landon, this graphic is just a fine example of stats not telling the whole story once again.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it right there. And to me, I tried as best as I can to kind of stay away from all the fake take, shock jock style of sports media, if you will. So, but obviously when things, Dak is a polarizing player for a lot of reasons. For number one, he's got the star on his helmet. I'm pretty well documented saying in the past, you put that star on your head, people are interested regardless because, you're the biggest fan base, and with the biggest fan base comes the most people that also hate you because just of the sheer quantity of numbers. And so it's just part of the territory. So, the Cowboys will always generate storylines, and particularly the most important position in all of sports that plays for the Cowboys, right? The quarterback position. It's a double whammy there. But yeah, it's just as far as the comparison between Dak and Kirk Cousins, it can be misleading. Kirk Cousins has a reputation for crumbling under pressure and under the lights, which I also would argue is a little bit misleading as well. But it's the casual narrative sprung by some of those things that have been, thrust into the media that people like to kind of, you throw Dak into that Kirk Cousins conversation, and all of a sudden it's just an easy way to kind of poo-poo on what he's been able to accomplish throughout his career. And I think that what most people would find is that if you stack up the completion percentages, the yards per attempt from most of the quarterbacks throughout the NFL who have been, the franchise caliber starters like Kirk Cousins, like Dak Prescott throughout that time frame, you'd probably find that they all kind of stack up pretty similarly. So the moral of the story, in my opinion, in my estimation, is that Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins they're both good enough to win with. They're somewhere in the 6 to 10 or 12 range of quarterbacks in the NFL. And to me, again, that's a useless comparison. It's just for the shock jock people, the fake take type of style of stuff.
Right.
But plenty good enough to win with. And I think, like you said, man, those stats there's a lot of missing context that must be applied.
He writes for he covers the Cowboys and Longhorns. Landon Hollifield from Sports Below the Surface. Jerry Jones has shown in the past, from an outsider's perspective, a hesitance to show his loyalty to certain players and coaches. But once he does, it feels like he's almost detrimentally loyal. I'm thinking of the last few years of the Romo tenure. Jason Garrett, who had a plus 500 record there in Dallas, but just didn't feel like he was a plus 500 type of coach. Dak Prescott as well. What is it that makes Jerry so loyal to the guys that he picks and chooses to be loyal to? Is it an ego thing? I've made this decision and I've got a lot of money, so I must be right about this. What is that from an insider's perspective?
You know, I don't obviously, I don't know Jerry personally, so I can't necessarily speak too candidly on that. But and based on the people that I know who are actually in that building every single day, Mike Fisher being most notably one of those ones, he would tell you that it's just because that Jerry has a much bigger heart than he gets credit for. And I think it's not necessarily ego. I mean, there is the human nature, right? We want to be right about our decisions and our opinions and things on players, especially when you've got millions and millions of dollars involved, which is what the Cowboys ran into with the Ezekiel Elliott situation. But that situation has since resolved itself. But I think Jerry just he has a deep heart and compassion for others, and I think sometimes that he would admit that does tend to get in the way at times. But in my estimation, that's not really his number one flaw.
And Hollifield joining us on Offsides right here on the Fan Upstate. The biggest news over the weekend, Landon, was the Trey Lance deal. And it obviously took the nation by surprise. I don't think the surprising aspect was Trey Lance leaving, more so him coming to Dallas and being a potential backup for Dak Prescott or maybe Cooper Rush. Your thoughts on if Trey Lance has a future playing quarterback? Because let me back up. When this trade happens, most of the uneducated who hear this and see this immediately think that Dak Prescott and his job status is now in question. Is
Correct.
that in your estimation at all? Is that a way far off, or is there a meet in the middle approach to this as well? He's not the replacement right now, but maybe 3 or 4 years from now he could be.
So to answer your question at first, is that far off? The answer to that would be yes. That could not be further from the truth if that's kind of what the way that you're evaluating the situation. But you apply more context with the second part of your question there, and I want to give you credit and make sure that is well understood here, and that this is, make no mistake, a business decision on the Cowboys to. I referenced earlier the most important position in all of sports. You do anything by any means necessary to add stability, not only stability, but also depth to that position when the opportunity presents itself. And in this case, this is the Cowboys having a low risk opportunity with a 4th round draft pick to throw, minimum draft capital at that position and take a shot on immense ceiling and upside that, just 2 years ago, most of the NFL all agreed was there, including Kyle Shanahan trading 3 first-round picks to move up and get him. So the other thing with Trey Lance to consider here, and then why most people have a different perspective than I would, is because, like you talked about, I like to apply sports psychology to my content based on, just some of the things that I've experienced as an athlete myself, obviously since retired from professional baseball, but it's taught me a lot. And one of those things is that a lot of times your situation matters. The coaches that you're around matters. Your expectations matter. When you're when a team like the 49ers, you're a Super Bowl caliber roster. And when you know that a team has traded 3 first-round picks to go up and get you because of your elite athleticism and arm strength, that's, 2 really key traits that teams and GMs like to build around, right? That comes with a lot of pressure. That territory does. And especially now when you consider, again, this is more below the surface stuff here that we have to evaluate when we're talking about Trey Lance, is this is a kid that needs reps, man. So here's some context for you to consider here for anyone who may be unfamiliar with the situation. Trey Lance has attempted somewhere in the ballpark of about 420 passes since he was a senior in high school. Okay. So he redshirts his first year, plays a little bit his second year, and then by 2019 is when he becomes the starter. He wins the FCS's Most Valuable Player Award. They win the national championship there at North Dakota State, right? But then 2020 happens. That's his draft year, okay? And so, or the year before his draft year, doesn't play but 1 game of football that season. And then 2021 comes around, it's his first year in the league. He sits behind Jimmy Garoppolo, has a couple of snaps here and there. He injures himself. He broke his finger in the preseason. So that's obviously in nature going to limit your reps in your development. And then somewhere about halfway through the season in October, he sprains his knee and misses a game. So, but then what happens? 2022, he wins the starting job, and week 3 comes around and he breaks his ankle and he's done for the year. Right. So it's just year after year, things continue to happen. Basically, since 2019, Trey Lance has attempted 420 total passes. Most NFL quarterbacks do that in one single season, and they eclipse that by a significant margin. So Trey Lance, man, he needs time and he needs reps, and that's exactly what he's going to get in Dallas. He's got 2 more years left on his rookie contract here before the Cowboys have to make a decision on whether or not they want to pick up his 5th-year option or extend him or trade him or what have you. But like I said, this is a 4th-round investment, and in the Cowboys' mind, they got 2 years to turn him into a valuable asset where they can ship him out somewhere else, or potentially if things go south with Dak Prescott, which I do not anticipate happening. It's just more added ammo in their pocket. I called it on Twitter when the news broke. I was actually in the middle of the Caribbean Ocean on a cruise. If anything, if this deal has anything to do with Dak Prescott today, it's that the Joneses are potentially protecting themselves from maybe just adding a little bit of negotiation leverage when it comes to Dak Prescott's contract, because I still expect him to get extended as well, considering you look at his Spotrac, his contract numbers for next season. He's on the books for roughly $60 million. And so that obviously will not be the case. They will find a way to do some salary cap gymnastics and get that number down. But the Joneses have a little bit of leverage now with Trey Lance. They say, look, I mean, this could be the guy that we're going to think about building around for the future. And so it's a multifaceted approach here. But again, to simplify things, the long story short is that this is a low risk, very high reward business decision.
Well, Landon, small world, you were in the Caribbean last week. So was I. I was down on the island of Curacao. So I don't know exactly where you were in the Caribbean, but man, what a small world that we were both in the same place at the same time. You mentioned the word desperation there, and you cover both the Dallas Cowboys and the Texas Longhorns. And I want to throw one more in the mix as well. Which fan base is more desperate for a winner? The Cowboys, the Texas Longhorns, or the Texas A&M Aggies?
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to plead a fifth on the third one. I'll stick for the 2 that I cover, the he who shall not be named, as I like to call it. No, in all fairness, though, I mean, I would say just based on the longevity and the time frame between being at the top of the totem pole and your specific league or division, it would be the Cowboys. 28 years and running and counting since their last appearance. Texas obviously won the national championship in 2005 and played in another one in 2009. And so this year now, I mean, it's kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but this is, I think most Texas fans would agree, the people that are in my close circle that I work closely with, the Texas content production community, all those people would tell you the same thing. Fanatic Perspective being one of them. Stephen Gotti does great work over there. He's one of my mentors. And he knows that team better than anybody better than anybody has ever known any team, I would argue. And he and I both had a discussion yesterday. We both think this is the most talented roster that Texas has had since 2009 when they were last playing in the national championship. So if that kind of tells you what the expectations are for this year, and granted, they're large every year when you deal with the brand and the fan base like Texas has. But there's if I could just put it to you this way, man. I mean, if there's ever a time to get back to national relevance, it would be this season.
He's on Twitter at The Lando Show. That's where you can give him a follow. Landon Hollifield, great stuff, man. We appreciate the conversation, Cowboys and Longhorns. I'll probably appreciate the Cowboys talk more than most, but we look forward to having you on again, man, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You can follow him one more time on Twitter at DeLando. That's TheLando Show, SHOW. Appreciate him coming on. That's a good question, Diesel. I do like that. I do.
Who's the most desperate?
Yeah. I like the third in there.
The answer is yes, yes, and yes. To all 3.
That's true. That's true. It's Texas for you, man. It's Texas sports. They're desperate. And it's been a while, It's been a while for all of them. So they're ready to get back. Man, they thought they had the Rangers, and then the Rangers lose 2 of the last 11. So we'll see if they can get there as well. All right, coming up next, Diesel, you and I are going to do something fun. I don't know how good you are, Diesel, at predicting the future, If you are good at it, I need to be better friends with you. But next, you and I will predict the college football headlines that you and Mark will be talking about, that we'll all be talking about 1 week from today. College football, obviously, week 1 kicks off Thursday night. We will predict the college football headlines 1 week from today. Up next, Cole, Bryce, and Diesel in as always. This is Offsides, filling in for Mark Ryan on the Fan Upstate.
Stream, it was an absolute blast again with you guys today, you diehards who are here each and every day. We love you. I know Cole appreciates you being here, chopping it up, mixing it up. Cole, you got to get into this comment section.
I know, I'm sorry.
Someday, man. Like these guys,
I'll be better.
You're a hardcore Braves fan.
Yes.
These guys talk Braves all show long.
Let's do it.
Whether
I'll
we could be talking about literally anything, and they're just going on about the Braves. So it's fun. It's fun. Thanks, guys. We'll be back tomorrow on the live show. Myself, Mark Ryan. Again, don't forget 3 more total chances for you to win those Furman tickets. The Rob Brown Show tomorrow, us here on Offsides tomorrow, and the Rob Brown Show one more time, last chance, Thursday morning. Then they're going to pick the grand prize. So if you want to win those tickets and get into the club level at Furman and field access, it's an insane prize, then you got to be listening up for your chances to win that. And don't forget, tomorrow is the return of the Upset Picks contest. You know how this goes. You pick an outright upset of at least 3 points. If you are correct with your upset choice, then you get the points that that team was a dog added to your season-long total. You can't get below 0, but if you get a pick wrong, you lose a point. If you fail to pick, you lose 2 points. That returns tomorrow, and we'll have on Josh Pate from the Late Kick Show on YouTube. This dude is exploding. He is now past 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. His Twitter account is massive. He hops trains. He works out, gets swole as hell, and he only wears white T-shirts. You're going to want to be here for that tomorrow as well. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See you back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Mark Ryan and myself with Offsides. Have a good afternoon.